I've always been in the mindset of like create the job and then get out of the way, hire somebody to get in that role and then get out of the way. So, the last one for me was eliminating the sales piece. I'm not fully out of the sales piece in my company. I sell like the larger leads that come in.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast. Today we have got a John, and everyone loves Johns. I've got a brother named John, a dad with a middle name. I got Johns all over my family. So John, can't wait to talk to you. Tell us who you are and what do you do?
Hey, Todd, thanks for having me on. That is a great name that you have. I've enjoyed it now for 22 years. I wish.
Right on.
Yeah, my name's John Smiddy. I am the founder of two marketing agencies, LeadPlan Marketing and NutriMarketers. I'm also the author of Stop Guessing, Start Marketing, a book that I wrote on the formula that I use for marketing strategy. I'm a father of four, husband to one, and lover of the outdoors.
These all sound like good things. I mean, if you're not hooked to this episode already, go someplace else because this is going to be a good one. John, thanks for the bio. I love that you've got a book. I love that you've got a strategy. You know, being only 22 years old and driving this marketing agency for the last 20 years, I'm guessing. How have you done this? And tell us who you like to serve with your agency. Who's your typical client?
So we really work with a plethora of clients, and it depends on which agency that we're with. But
right.
Over the years, we've kind of fallen into a niche within the nutrition product space.
Okay.
So like supplement brands, vitamin companies, sports nutrition, dietary supplements. I fell into that, I would say back in 2016, the first brand that we ever worked with in that space reached out to us.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was myself and two other guys. One of them at the time was my business partner, and the other one was our very first employee. And we were just really small, just trying to figure things out. And the brand owner called me and we talked, and I said, I got to be honest, I don't think we're ready for this yet. So he said, I really appreciate that transparency, because a lot of guys would have just taken the deal and taken my money as long as they could. And he said, I'm going to call you back in a year. And if you feel like you're ready at that time, then we'll do some business together. So
awesome.
Year went by, we grew a little bit more. We created some processes. We were comfortable enough to take him on first for his search engine optimization work, which we did. That led into some other work, conversion optimization, some advertising work. And then he asked if we would help him launch a second brand.
Wow.
So we did that, and we did well. And that dietary supplements industry, it's a large industry, but it's a small community. So when you do well, word travels. So we started having other brands contacting us. Before I knew it, I had more national and international dietary supplement brands than I had local clients, which is what I started working with. So we said, let's launch another agency that focuses specifically on nutrition marketing. That's NutriMarketers.
Right.
But at LeadPlan, we're still working with a lot of brands, mainly new brands that want to launch. So we have a new product launch program that has been very, very successful for us for bringing those new brands into the market.
Well, this is going to bring up a fun conversation after the interview, because I was in that space for about 10 plus years. So I'm very familiar with probably a lot of the same players you are. And
interesting. I bet so.
I'm 100% positive. Very, very fun to connect the dots here live on a show. So you've been in the health and nutri space now for several years, and it is a fun ride. I will attest to the fact that there's a lot of people looking for healthy solutions online, and you are dialed in, and that is a good place to be. So that's your primary market. You said that you've diversified the brand so that part of it is just Nutra. What about the rest of it? Are you able to apply the things you do in Nutra to other industries?
Yeah, we do a little bit. One of the main offerings that we have is marketing planning and brand strategy.
Cool.
And over the years, I created a formula for doing that. I've used that formula to create marketing plans and brand strategies for countless companies and brands in several different industries. So the
Cool.
formula, it works across industries. It doesn't only work for creating marketing strategy. It actually works great if you apply it, just like if you're going to run an advertising campaign.
Cool.
And basically what I did with that is I took the 3-step buyer's journey,
Yeah.
the awareness, consideration, decision. And
Sure.
way back when I was working with that first Nutra company that I mentioned, I was looking at that buyer's journey because I was trying to map out a digital strategy.
Sure.
And, when you're looking at that, you're going, okay, what has to happen in awareness? What has to happen in consideration?
Yep.
What has to happen in decision? And I just started with that company, and it kind of transformed over the years, but mapping out, okay, I know who my customer is. Now in awareness, where are all the places that I can get an advertisement in front of them at the right
Totally.
place with the right message? And that goes into, if you're selling an e-commerce product or a product online,
Sure.
yeah, you can do, mainly people will go straight for like social media and search engine optimization, but I've worked with companies like I worked with a roofing company for a couple of years, and
Right.
where could we get to homeowners? We started going right through homeowner associations.
Nice.
And so the formula is basically a plan for how you'll be found, how you'll be known, how you'll be trusted, how you'll be purchased, and how you'll be talked about.
Love
So
it.
in that awareness, how you're going to be known, right? How you're going to be
Yep.
found, sorry. And then once you're found, how are we going to get them to know you and create a connection? That has to happen next.
Oh yeah.
And so that's usually through a website or a landing page. In the case of the roofer, we wrote letters to the heads of the homeowners associations.
Sure.
And then we made an offer for you. This is for your association. We are willing to do this. We already knew that people in that area had been hit by a hailstorm. There was roof damage.
Right.
We want to make this offer for your association. So then the association now reaches out to all the members. So it's now helping us get known through someone that they trust,
Love
which
it.
trust is the next big thing, right?
Love
We
it.
have to get trust before we can get a conversion. If it's coming from the head of the homeowner association, it's instant trust.
Right.
Then we have that offer. They have us out. Our client would come out, look at the roof, do this really nice report. We put together a video that showed the report they were going to get and all this
Cool.
stuff.
Cool.
And then contract the job. And then we brought them into a program to help get them to talk about us on social media. So we documented the whole project.
Yeah.
We sent our photographers out. They took pictures. We interviewed the customer of the roofing company,
Right.
and then we asked if we could tell their story on social media, post it on the roofing company's, back then just Facebook page, and now
Right.
we're producing more like reviews basically off of that case study.
And you say back then just Facebook. Where have you got a place now? What are some tips and tricks here that you've been able to discover in different verticals?
Mainly who is the customer. I just had this talk with my 14-year-old son who's wanting to start his first business and
Awesome.
Asking me these same types of questions, and who's the customer. So
Yeah.
for him, it's what he is. He's a 14-year-old, soon to be 15-year-old, ninth grader who's
Right.
an athlete, works out all the time. So great. Where are those guys at? Where can we find them? We can find them at gyms, wrestling meets. We can find them on Twitch. We can find them maybe a
Yep.
little bit on Instagram, but they're pretty young there.
Yeah.
So there's those kids at that age are switching platforms like crazy.
Trying to figure out where they belong.
YouTube though. Yeah. So it's there's so many different platforms now. It's almost getting to like, I years ago sold TV for a local station. And
Sure.
so when you're looking at a TV buy, you're looking at getting in front of that certain demographic. What show are they watching? Are we talking to Oprah fans?
Totally.
Or are we talking to the Big Bang Theory fans? Now
Totally.
it's like, are we talking
Totally.
to people who are 40 plus that we're going to get on Facebook? Are we talking about a little bit younger? We'd go to Instagram. So I would always
Yep.
stick with the fundamentals there and just say it really depends on who we're trying to reach.
And find them where they're at, right?
Yeah. Meet them where they're at.
Yeah. Meet them where they're at. You've expressed a lot of things that everyone should be thinking about. And if you're in the position right now as a company where you're listening to this thinking, okay, I kind of resonate with this journey that we're talking about right now. If you're not present where your buyer is, that there's a problem. You're not going to grow as much. If you don't know who your buyer is, that's a bigger problem because a lot of businesses don't fully understand their buyer. John, what do
Yeah.
you guys do as an agency to help people figure this out? And how have you figured it out with your business?
Well, with our customers, we know the nutrition space really well. So we know things like, if you're coming to
Right.
me with a protein supplement, we know what we're selling here. We're selling health, right? And nutrition,
Right.
but we're also selling a look that somebody's after because they're
Happiness.
lifting weights. They want to
Right.
bulk up or whatever it might be. If that's the product, if it's a bulking protein powder, say,
Sure.
like that's what we're selling. So that's the customer we know is going to be probably in a certain age group, probably in a certain type of financial bracket. Maybe even people
Sure.
like that tend to be tenacious, not only in the gym but in life. So it's
Right.
doing research to it's mapping out who we think that might be, then doing research to really understand that is the person that we're after. Then it's taking that
Right.
information to find out where that person's going, crafting unique selling proposition and a brand strategy, and putting it in front of that
Right.
person at the right place, the right time.
I want to thank you so much for listening to this episode, but I also want to take just a few seconds to let you know about a project that we've been putting together for the last several months, and we're finally launching it, called the Captain's Council. You see, as a CEO or operator of a business, it can feel like you get stuck in your own head a lot of the time. You get challenges that you don't know how to resolve. You get people causing problems in your leadership team that you don't know how to resolve. And it's so hard to overcome those things by yourself. You don't have to anymore. Join the Captain's Council. Captain's Council is a group of other CEOs and operators and owners of businesses where we come together once a month for several hours to discuss the biggest challenges you're facing. You express to the council of 8 to 10 people about what's going on. Where do you feel stuck? And these other people are in the same boat as you. They're running and operating their own businesses. They're your peers. They help you kind of dissect what's happening and help you see things that you may not have seen all by yourself. If you don't have a good, strong network of people around you, come join the Captain's Council. This is going to be something that will change the way you run your business and open your eyes to opportunities that you have never seen without the help of your peer group. Come check it out, captainscouncil.com. So you rattle that off like it's no big deal, but for a lot of the companies listening to this show, they're thinking, wait, back up. Let me write this down. What are the things that you tend to see most often with a new client that you're like, oh my gosh, we got to dial this in before we can do any work on pumping ads?
I see that a lot, and the biggest mistake that I see is skipping the research and not exactly what you're saying, not understanding who the customer is or what the market is. We work with so many brand new companies, brand new brands in the nutrition space, and usually they'll come with an investment and an assumption. So
sure,
one of the latest assumptions after COVID was, we need to roll out an immunity supplement. This is a huge opportunity. Everybody wants to be healthy, right? And of course, Amazon and Meta, all and Google all understood that companies now were going to try to come and take advantage of what's happening with the pandemic and all that stuff. So there was all kinds of advertising regulation. Of
course they should.
And there was a surge in the market of all these companies rolling in with the greatest, newest immunity supplement, and some things that they didn't understand that we found through research. And one of the main things is that one of the best selling products on Amazon is an immunity supplement. It's by Nature's Way. It's the Sambucus immunity supplement by Nature's Way. And when you're going up against a company like that, they have the ability to purchase from the manufacturer large quantities. Their overheads go down. So you can't compete with them on price. They're going to be the lowest priced. And there was that issue. I also see a lot of brands that want to come in brand new into the space and command a
Yeah.
premium price, but there's no credibility to the brand. There's no
There's no
brand
name
awareness. There's
recognition.
like, you have to
Yeah.
understand that usually what I've found is the first round of manufacturing, the first run that you get back from your manufacturing partner, is going to be an
Right.
investment into stabilizing the brand.
Right.
If you can get through that first 5,000 or so bottles and you can break even,
Sure.
you're in a really good space. You may not break even.
Yep.
Now, there's always, we
Yep.
definitely had clients that do well right out of the gate, but I would always count on, and I have with my own
Not very
brands,
often.
not very often, count on being in the red for a while. It's a brand new company, and
Yeah.
you kind of got to get in that mindset that when I launched my own brands, I try to get in the mindset of, if I can do a 5,000 unit order, I can sell those. I can use them to do buy one, get ones, half offs, undercut the
Sure. Sure.
competition, and just get it into the hands of the customer. Then I know on my second
Right.
manufacturing run, I'm going to be making
Yep.
some money. So,
Well, and not only that, but you've got your bump cells, and you've got your ability to throw in a complementary supplement, and that's usually where the real money's made in these types of products. But
mhm.
as you work with other brands, is one thing. Talk to us about your own brand. I mean, as you've built this agency, it's not easy for any company to last more than a year or two. But now you're into this 6-7 years. How have you evolved, and what have you done to kind of stabilize your growth in not just Nutra, but it as an outlook to cross into different verticals?
When I look back, the way this thing started, one of
Yeah.
the things that stands out to me is who I've had to become every step of the way. The person that I was when I started this company was a guy who loved marketing, was passionate about marketing. I learned marketing from my time in the music industry, and then I went and worked in TV for a while, and I sold print ads for a while, and I studied copywriting, and I just ate up everything that I could. And
I don't think you're 22, like you said earlier.
probably not.
You said print copy.
Probably not. But
You said print
yeah,
marketing. I don't believe
I
it.
sold print ads for a local magazine. I did okay, honestly, but I learned that
Yeah.
I had to be able to create ads that were going to be compelling enough for my clients to want to
Sure.
keep running
Sure.
those ads for me to retain them.
Right.
So I had to get
Right.
good at copywriting, because the magazine they were a small outfit. There was no like awesome copywriter on staff. It was like a designer that was like,
Right.
what kind of promotion do they want to run this month?
Whoa.
I'll put 25% off. So
Right.
I was like a
Right.
sales guy who knew marketing. I had to go from that to, I was a partner, a strategist. I had to get really serious about strategy and making sure that the strategies we were creating and executing on were working for our clients so that our retention stayed strong.
Right.
To a boss now, to a person who did
Sure.
hiring. I had never done any kind of hiring. That was interesting to figure out. I mean, when I first started
It's a big
hiring,
deal.
I'm just a guy that
Yeah.
believes in people. And if you come to me and you're like, I want to do this, I'm like, great, you're hired. I want to give you a
Let's
chance.
do it.
Yeah.
Right.
To
That's not always the smartest path.
No, you have to test people, and you have to, put controls in place. And but from that
Yeah.
to like understanding finances of the business and being kind of like a CFO, from
Yeah.
selling deals myself to now coaching and mentoring sales staff. I mean, I
Sure.
always try to think of,
It's a different game.
yeah, one guy that I listen to a lot is Ed Mylett, and he had a show years and
Yeah.
years ago I was listening to, and he said, you have to think about like your end game. So for me, it's like, where is 60-year-old John? Like, who does 60-year-old John have to be in order to be
Right.
at the place I want to be when I'm 60 with my businesses? And so
Sure.
how am I going to
Sure. Sure.
become every type of person I have to be along the way until I can hire that person to replace me and move up to the next
Yep.
piece? That's kind of how I've scaled. I'm not saying that's the right way to do
Well,
it.
and that's how you need to sell. The sooner you can pull yourself out of the day to day, the more your business will actually thrive.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, most founders feel like it's all up to them. Like there's no other hope. You're the only one that can do this. And the reality is, don't be an idiot.
Yeah,
There's a lot of great people out
I've
there you can
always been in the
hire.
mindset of like create the job and then get out of the way. Hire somebody to get in that role and then get out of the way. So,
Sure.
the last one for me was eliminating the sales piece. I'm not fully out of the sales piece in my company. I sell like the larger leads that come in. The bigger
Right.
companies,
Right.
I do that, but I have people that I'm mentoring right now in my sales team to move up to that so that I can
Good.
fully pull out of the sales role.
And the biggest blessing of
And then,
all is, of course, finding someone who's better than you and can say, "Hey, John, did you know that we could do it this way?" And you're like, "Had no idea. Go, run, do it."
do it.
Right?
Yeah. Well, that's the great thing about having the right people on staff.
Right.
I've had the wrong people and I have had the right people, and I have a great team right now. And there's a lot of that.
Right.
And there's a lot of like, hey, my team's pretty proactive about processes, especially.
Right. Right.
So if something does go sideways with a client or communication, or for whatever reason, a task didn't get executed on time,
Right.
what can we do to fix this? The team is usually, especially my project manager, is like on that,
Totally.
to make those pivots and tighten those processes.
Well, John, who speaking of like resources, a lot of founders and operators, they find themselves in a situation where they feel like they have to have all the answers, and you know that you don't, but you try to just beat your head against the wall till you figure it out and pass it on to the next guy, right? Is there somebody that you have in your network, in your circle of friends, or in a peer group or something that has been that for you, has been a resource, maybe a mentor to kind of guide you through this whole journey?
Yeah, I have a couple, but I would say the main one is probably a friend of mine. His name's Jake Heighton. He owns a couple different manufacturing facilities. He owns a couple successful brands. He's actually a little
Cool.
bit younger than me. He's only 21. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow, you guys are
He's
young. It's
no,
amazing.
no, he's
You look
probably
at
2
least
years younger than me
23.
or so. What's
Yeah,
that?
you look at least 23.
Yeah, I wish. But yeah, he's just been a great resource for me. And anytime I kind of hit that stagnant type of feeling, or I feel like I'm stuck, or I have a
Sure.
specific issue, I know I can call him up. He always has great insight. And what he tells me that he likes, why he answers me when I call him with these questions, is I actually
Yeah.
implement what he says. I trust him that much that when he says, "Hey, this is what we do," I'm like, "Okay, great." And then
Yeah.
we get on a call a week later. I'm like, "So I hired this person. We got this." He's like, "Oh, you really did it." So
I
I won't
love
be an
it.
asshole.
I love it. Well, that's good to have people like that in your corner who can give you that advice. It's always nice to have people at least a few steps ahead in some place that you need to be.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, this has been fun. This has been a great conversation. And for those of you listening, there's so much to learn. Check out John's book, learn what he's doing to help other people with their marketing strategy, and dive in deep. I mean, there's so much to learn from so many different people, but people like John you can trust. He's been doing this for a long time. And I promise you, if you actually have a strategy instead of just trying to wing it, chances are you're going to be successful. Sometimes the strategy can be modified, sometimes it can be improved, but have a plan, try to execute a plan. And to John's point, find someone who's a few steps ahead of you, and don't hesitate to ask them some questions. John, any words of wisdom you want to leave at the end of this conversation here?
I'd like to dovetail on what you just said, and statistics show that it's right around 50% of businesses are operating with no marketing plan. So that means there's a 50% chance that your
It's got to be
competitor
more than
has
that.
absolutely no strategy. So if you just have a plan that you're following, you're possibly way ahead of them. Yeah.
Man, I'd be surprised if it was 50%, but I think so many people are just running without a plan and just making it happen.
Oh
But
yeah.
do it, go for it, hire someone, find someone like John to help you with this, and you'll have a better chance of success. We're so grateful you're here, and we're so grateful you joined us today, John, and we'll catch the rest of you on the next episode. Thanks for
Thanks
being
so
here.
much for having me, Todd. It was great talking to you. Appreciate you having me on.
I sure hope that interview helped you. I sure hope there were some things in there that you can apply to your business. I love not only his journey, but who he's been helping along the way. And thank you so much for listening. Honestly, I can't take enough time to tell you how much, as a producer of a show, I appreciate your comments, your likes, your shares. Whatever you're doing to support us, thank you, and keep on doing it. We are trying to provide you the best resources we can. And one of the best things that we've been able to do so far is come up with a community. Our community is called Captain's Council. If you haven't done so already, check it out at captainscouncil.com. You are all captains on your own journey, taking your ship wherever it needs to go. If you're past launch and growing and scaling a company, you are the type of people that needs to be part of our community. Because why? Because peers get it done. If you can't talk to somebody about your main problems and the things that are irritating you about your team and the things that are bothering you about your vendors, you gotta have somebody to vent to. Who better than a group of peers who are also dealing with similar challenges that you are? The Captain's Council is a place where you can feel safe. Small, intimate groups of leaders and founders and operators of businesses just like you who need help and advice, who are willing to give some help and advice, because who doesn't want to help when you're getting so much in return? Emotional support, support in ideas, people who can hold you accountable for your goals and objectives in your growth journey. So if you're not part of a community yet, or if you are and you're feeling kind of bored, come check it out. We're providing all sorts of value. This podcast goes right along with it. We are here for you. Whether you're just a free follower of our podcast or a member of our community, we appreciate you being here. We hope you find joy in what you're learning. And like I said earlier, support us. Help us support you by supporting the podcast. Like, share, subscribe, ding the bell. Whenever we come up with a new episode, we want you to be there with us to enjoy the good content. We'll see you later, and we hope the best for you in your growth journey.